I guess the easiest place to start is, man, what made you want to get into pro wrestling? What made you want to be a wrestler? If you can remember like that moment, but what was it?
Um, so what made me want to be a wrestler? Growing up as a kid, I was a very sick kid. I had an immune deficiency. I was in and out of the hospital. Also had asthma, a number of things. I was a very sick kid, and the doctors told me that I wouldn't be able to go to public schools, play public sports. I'd basically just be a homebody, if anything else. And the only time I got to myself at the hospitals were when I was watching wrestling, because the nurses knew, like, hey, like this is Parker's time, Dalton's time, whatever you want to call me, uh, and then this is what gets this kid through, and it was just something to hold on to. And I remember telling one of my doctors, like, hey, one of these days I'm going to be doing that. And the doctor was like, yeah, we'll see. And as soon as I got the chance, I was like, yeah, we're going to stick it to him for sure. And so, yeah, that's what made me get into wrestling. Wrestling helped. I'd say, in the
Okay.
lack of a better term, wrestling saved my life.
That's awesome, man. I did not know that. I've known you for almost 2 years and I did not know that. Oh,
Yes, sir.
that's
Yes,
awesome. So
sir.
where did you go? I mean, obviously everyone has to get into it somewhere, but like you said, like as soon as you were able to, you went for it. Like, where'd you go for it at?
So me and my dad had went to a wrestling show in West Terre Haute for a company called CCW or CWF, my bad.
Okay.
And I remember, dad had to get front row for me, and it was a tag match. It was the Juggernauts against, I can't remember the tag team they were wrestling, but the Juggernauts, baby faces, were going for a double suicide dive, cheap generic spot. And one of the baby faces overshot that dive. Been there, done that. And 8-year-old Parker caught him, and I was concussed out of my mind. I just had a 200+ pound guy land on me,
Right.
and I just thought it was so cool. Like, I was like, man, I'm part of the action now. Like,
Right.
I've earned my stripes, and my dad kind of talked to them, and he started doing security, and I had uh, I had started doing ring crew and ringing the bell,
Sure.
and um, Mikey Guess with New Wave. That's what I was doing
Ah,
that with. It later turned into New Wave Pro,
yeah.
and I remember Mikey was starting his school, or made a post
I
about a
I
school,
remember when he
and
did that.
I was just like, man, like, I've got to, like, anything I want. Wrestling is what I want to do, but obviously I was so young at the time. Mikey was like, tell you what, how about refing first? Let's give refing a try. And so I started refing,
Hmm.
and really enjoyed that. It helped me out a lot. Um, and then as I was refing, I was doing refing training, but I was also learning, like, my bumps and my rolls,
Hmm.
and just, the essentials, just to how to
Right.
keep, myself safe. And when I did make that transition to be a wrestler, I would have, that step forward. And I remember that just, progressed into, okay, well, let's put Parker into training matches. Let's see what he can do there.
Like enhancement
And
matches, kind of, or
yeah, kind
okay.
of just, all the boys around the ring.
Oh, like matches at
You,
training and stuff, like mock
yeah, yeah,
matches. Okay.
yeah, pretty
Like okay.
much. And I learned a move set, and then I remember there was a Relay for Life show that New Wave did at uh,
Fairgrounds.
nope, the college. I don't know. I'm drawing a
Indiana
blank on it.
State.
Yeah, Indiana State. I don't know what tells you how much I
You
get out of
live
my
there,
hotel
dude.
room. Yeah, I live there. Tells you how much I get out. Um, yeah, it's weird. You ask me anything about Bloomington, and I'll know.
It's because
Uh,
Bloomington's better.
yeah, roughly so. Um, but there was a Relay for Life show, and
Sure.
I remember, there was a couple guys that called off, and Mikey came up to me and he was like, "Hey, like, you got some mock gear you can wear?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I got a mask, everything." He's like, "All right, cool. Uh, you're wrestling Jason Levi tonight," and
Ah,
that was my first on screen live pro wrestling
I'm
match.
so I know he's gonna watch this. I'm so sorry.
Definitely did a lot of carrying that night. Definitely did a lot of carrying.
That's awesome. So that's where you and Jason Levi got connected, like for the first time.
Yep.
Really was
Yeah, I
there.
remember. I remember. When we had the locker room meeting, I remember uh, Mikey just wanting it to be a squash match,
Hmm.
and rightfully so. I mean, I was as greener as goose shit, as they would say,
Sure.
and I remember, me and Jason started talking, and he goes, "Nah," he goes, "I don't do squash matches." He goes, "You're gonna do something," and I was like, "Okay." And the funniest spot I remember in that match is he wanted to do a hip toss into the corner, and
Okay.
I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, just hip toss me into the buckle." I was like, "Okay." And so we do it, and I kid you not, Reggie, my man's scorpions into the side. I genuinely thought Levi broke his neck that night.
Yeah, he's good at that. And I will give
Yeah,
him credit. He's constantly wanting to work with younger guys who, the management is trying to build up and stuff like
yeah,
that to show that they can do something or see what they can do. So, that's really cool that your guys' friendship and really tag teams started with something like that.
yeah. And in a way, I'm gonna give him a little bit of a rub here. Uh, in a way, I think it makes him feel young, keeps him young. Trying to keep up with the younger guys.
And then when he
But
gets in the ring
yes,
with it, when he gets in the ring with them, he realizes he cannot keep up with them. So I love him so much, man. He's awesome,
same.
man. Well, how did that match kind of develop into what is now the Knockout Society with you and him? Because you guys have been
Uh,
tag teaming, you guys team everywhere. It seems like.
yeah, we've made our rounds, as they would say. Me and Levi. So that match was obviously my first ever match.
Hmm.
Uh, I definitely had a long way to go. And me and Levi actually started off hating each other, as
Really,
we do best. Really, really, yeah, I know.
really.
But me and Levi, we started our feud with New Wave, and I really feel like that's what kind of helped build our chemistry, as you see, as us tagged now. Um, and we, I mean, there was nights we'd go out there, and the only thing is we would call, as they would say, is, "Hey, we're gonna go out there and beat the shit out of each other. Whatever happens, happens. We'll deal with the consequences afterwards." But at that time, especially with New Wave, it was just you've got to make your strikes now, or you're not going to succeed.
Mhm.
And around the time that feud started, we lost our first trainer, a guy by the name of Tolerant Zero. Tolerant Zero was a big influence on me and Levi, and it kind of put a chip on our shoulder, not in a bad way, but just kind of okay, this is Zero's legacy now. We've got to
Mhm.
up it up a little bit more. And we were making our rounds, just wrestling each other, and we had brought the idea to WCWO about us tagging,
Okay.
and they thought on it for a little while, and then eventually, as the dub rub, as they would say, uh, Basher said, "Hey, you guys are tagging tonight." and boom, Knockout Society was born. I think, you know, as we were making those road trips, we had kind of had those, you know, you're on a 3 hour car ride. You kind of find anything and everything to talk about.
Been there.
And we kind of, we were like, man, like, what if we tag? Like, what would we be called? What would our quote gimmick be? And when they finally gave us the ball, we were like, all right, it's either sink or swim time. And I think we kept the boat running for a little bit. But
What year was that?
oh shoot. Um I would say probably about a year before COVID.
Okay. So 18, 19.
Around then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did the Dalton, obviously your real last name is Davis, but where did the Dalton name come from? A lot of guys just use the real name. A lot of guys come up with a whole new name. You kind of replace your first name.
So I kind of wanted I knew I wanted to keep the Davis last name. The Davis last name. I don't know. I'm big on my family. And my last name just means a lot to me. So I knew I wanted to keep that. And you know, I had struggled for a little bit of finding like what I did want that first name to be.
Yeah, because if it takes off, you're stuck with it forever. You know?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, let me go back to my early days of remembering wrestling. And I remember my cousin Dalton was the one that brought me into wrestling.
Okay.
We'd be at my grandma's house just jamming SmackDown versus Raw on our PSP. I mean, anything and everything we could think about.
Nice.
You know, how to create a wrestler. I remember you remember like the storyline mode? Our go-to guy was Triple H. Like we thought Triple H was god of wrestling. And I was like, you know, like I like that. Dalton Davis, and that's how Dalton Davis was born.
Nice. I see. I'll date myself real good here. I never played the SmackDown versus Raw games. I remember playing the very first ever SmackDown video game and SmackDown 2.
So we did go back. Like we were those kids that would just game everything.
Yeah.
And I remember we had beat Halo 3 and we were just bored out of our mind. And so me and Dalton decided that we were going to just do housework for our grandma.
Right.
And to get money to get a PS2. And then we got a PS2. And my dad was like, okay, well, you guys made the money for the PlayStation 2. I'll get you guys some games. And around the time my dad was a law enforcement officer, so he went to Disc Replay and he got a discount. And I mean, any wrestling game on that shelf was getting snagged.
Nice. That is. What are aside from Triple H, like who were some of the wrestlers that you really looked up to or just were a big fan of when you first started watching? Because as kids, we have our favorite wrestlers, and then as we get older, it kind of evolves a little bit, and you pick up on other things. And when you get into wrestling behind the scenes and becoming a wrestler backstage, you kind of develop other favorites that you like based on work rate, promo style, stuff like that. But who were the first ones you remember really gravitating towards?
I remember obviously Triple H, obviously a John Cena kid. I was really big on Shawn Michaels.
So you grew up during the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the quote storyline that made me fall in love with wrestling and made me want to be a wrestler was the Triple H Randy Orton feud.
Okay.
The feud where Randy Orton DDT'd Stephanie as Triple H was handcuffed
and then he kissed her.
And Triple H broke into the house. I loved that.
See, and it's weird because I wasn't watching wrestling during that time. I stopped in 2004 and picked up in 2013. So when you started watching wrestling, I was not watching wrestling at all. So I had to go back on YouTube.
Did you get a chance to check that feud out?
Oh, I have. I've watched it all back on YouTube and the network and WWE Cox since, but you know.
Hell yeah. But I was also that kid that was like anything that like anything in my daily life that would resemble a wrestler, that's who
Yeah.
I would gravitate to. Like I
Okay.
remember if you would ask me growing up who my favorite wrestler was on Sunday, I'd tell you Chris Jericho. And the only reason I would tell you Chris Jericho is because I remember really big at the time, he'd wear the suit with the pinstripes down.
Yeah.
And that was my church suit. I got one from Burlington Coat Factory. Every Sunday I was breaking down the walls, brother. But
Oh, that's
I,
great.
I mainly remember Triple H, John Cena, and Shawn Michaels. Those are my go-to guys.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, favorite favorite moment in the ring so far? I know you've had a lot of fun matches, a lot of matches not so great, a lot of matches that stand out for other reasons. I mean, obviously, I just started watching you in 2000, like August of 2020, when you had the Dex Royal feud at the Dub. Then you had your last
Yep.
man, the match, the storyline that culminated Last Man Standing with Jason Levi, where you just basically tried to kill each other for 35 minutes straight.
What we
And
do
then
best.
the highlight reel feud, stuff like that. But
Yep.
I mean, some of your favorite storylines you've been in, moments in the ring, maybe something that meant something to you that fans maybe not have picked up on.
Um, the first ever street fight I had was against Jason Levi,
Yeah.
and that match meant a lot to me for the sole reason that Tolerant Zero was the special guest referee. And like I said earlier, Tolerant Zero was a big influence on not just me and Levi, the whole quote Terre Haute crew.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Uh, he was a big influence. That was one for sure. Probably Street Fight 2 against Levi. That felt really, really good. For the sole reason of me and Levi had worked our asses off that whole feud.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, helped, bring New Wave from that, all right, these are just local guys, we're going to have our okay matches, storylines. And some matches they did have great matches. There was guys like PJB there, Jack Maverick, Michael Madrox, a whole bunch of talented workers there. But we brought it from guys that you would know locally to, okay, now like this is a indie company
Yeah.
that can hang. And
Yeah.
I remember we had that street fight at the Armory. It was the first time we ever wrestled in the Armory, and it was a surreal moment because you walked out the locker room door and you could see my high school. You could see
That's
where
cool.
I went, and it was just we sold out. That Armory was sold out.
Wow.
We weren't supposed to be main event at all. And Hornswoggle was there, and
Nice.
Hornswoggle went up to bat for us. And
Nice.
we ended up getting main event that night. And I remember it was just as soon as we heard we were main event, a switch just
You can
went
do
off in
more
both
then.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a switch that went off with me and Levi. And I remember the finish. The finish was I gave Levi a pile driver on just the boards of the ring. We had stripped down
Mm-hmm.
the ring.
Yeah.
And as soon as you hear that 1, 2, and that 3 hit, I mean, it was weird. I could look around and I seen people out of their seats. But in that moment, I could just only hear me, the ref, Donnie
Yeah.
Tsunami, and Levi. And it
Yeah.
was just like, okay, brother, we did this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can put this to rest
And it's
now.
yeah. No, go
And
ahead.
then the third moment, I would say, was probably when, and it's the most recent one, uh, was when I took the Gunslinger title off of
Yes.
Juwan Thomas.
Yeah.
Um, that was the first singles title I'd ever held.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first match I could have had with that level of caliber. with the light tubes and
Yeah.
the skewers and stuff. And
Yeah.
as weird as it may sound, that's my forte. I love, as the boys would say, I love that shit.
Yeah.
And just to be able to have that style of a match at WCWO, doing all that stuff with a guy who is very talented, who I know was going to beat my ass and
Yeah.
still come out on top, was just a really good moment for me.
That match was really cool because, like you said, it was your first singles title, and I know that there were certain people backstage that really pushed for you to get that title when you got it, and just the fact that it was in the parking lot for one gave it a completely
Yeah,
different environment and feel, and then just I remember the eruption from the crowd when you won that match, just the pop, you know, like it was cool to watch that just as a fan and somebody
yeah.
working the show, but to be in that match and the guy that won that match, that had to have been, it's one of those things you can't really describe or put into words or explain. You just you know.
And not a lot of people know. Around that time too, personally, it was really hard for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and I genuinely thought like, hey, like you know, maybe it's time to hang him up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you've been doing this for a while, you
Yeah.
got some tag recognition, but like you're not. I felt like a small fish in a very very
Hmm.
large pond,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to have that moment there at the dub, and you know, and much credit to Jawan too, because
Mhm.
at the time, there's no pit fights.
No.
Nobody knew what a pit fight was. I
No.
mean, there's a couple companies that had did it, but the dub style was completely different.
Hmm.
And so we had literally so much creative freedom to do whatever
Yeah.
in that match.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it was the first time I had ever had a promoter and backstage people go, okay, here's the ball, you guys.
Yeah.
Here's the match. That's
Just
all we need,
roll with it. Yeah.
and do whatever. And
Yeah.
that felt really good to, get the trust of not only a company, but be an opponent and just be like, hey, look, like we're gonna have a war, but afterwards we're gonna go crack a beer and 20 minutes later you're gonna have a baby.
Yeah.
It
Oh
was
my
it was
God.
kind of surreal.
Yeah, Jawan, for this is not really pulling the curtain back, but something that a lot of people don't know is Jawan didn't even know if he was going to be able to be there that night because he was having a baby that night, like
Yeah.
that day, and nobody knew when it was going to happen. Like and I think his wife was there too.
She
Like
was
they
there.
left together, like he still had blood on him when he was going to the hospital. I think I remember looking at him and telling him, "Well, I mean, at least they're going to a hospital. I
Yeah.
mean,
It was it was actually kind of funny.
yeah,
His girl was backstage. She goes, all I ask is don't kill each other too bad. She goes, I'm trying to hold this water in until the
yeah,
match is over. And I
yeah."
was like, we'll do our best, honey.
Well, and going back to the other thing is around that time, and you and I had been having a lot of conversations, like a lot, because you were going through some serious shit. We're not going to go into it, but the gratification you got winning that title with everything you had just come out of, because you were finally starting to get your life back on track and where you wanted to go and finding yourself again. To me, that was more than you just winning a title. That was like the start of a new chapter in your life in a lot of
Yeah, and
ways.
it very much was so. It was that moment that, I realized, hey, you know, you're gonna be all right, kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I give that day much credit to the reason I'm still here today.
Hmm.
And, you know, that's why it's one of my top moments for sure.
And that's also why it was named one of the Hoosier Wrestling Alliance's top matches of 2021. It was.
And so I do appreciate that. I do
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes. And
Much love
also,
to
I
the people that
mean,
run that.
and look, I mean, for with you as a baby face at the time, a baby face can only go so far. You need a strong heel to really
Yeah.
get that moment over. And good, Jawan really came into his own as a heel. That's when he was starting to catch his stride as a heel. And Jesus Christ, the crowd fucking hated that guy.
Oh yeah.
They were
It was,
celebrating him losing that belt. Yeah.
I remember when I first started coming around the dub, was when Jawan was tagging with Calvin Tankman.
Okay.
And uh we had always wanted to work each other in a singles capacity, but it was just, we'd be in triple threats,
Mm-hmm.
or it'd be fatal four ways or battle royals. So
Yeah.
I mean, we had
Yeah.
mixed it up, but
Mm-hmm.
we haven't had that one on one.
Let alone a program.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it was just one of those moments. Jawan was finding who he was as a
Mm-hmm.
performer and as a wrestler.
Yeah.
And I mean, not only finding myself as a person, but I was finding who Dalton was. I was really starting to sink my teeth on who
Mm-hmm.
Dalton is and can
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that we were like, look, like, we're going to leave it all out there. If they love it, perfect.
Yeah.
If they hate it, fuck them. But
Yeah.
either way, at the end of the day, we know we gave ours. We gave
Mm-hmm.
everything we could have, and we did the best story we could possible with what we
Mm-hmm.
were given.
Yeah.
And I think it came out just fine.
Yeah. And look, I mean, fans don't realize how hard it is to let alone to write weekly wrestling shows, let alone put them on and execute them well. With how many matches there are in a year, 52 matches a year, sometimes more. The fact that that match is remembered at the end of the year, and that happened in May, I think. So
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. I've had a lot of concussions since then. So, yeah.
Yes, you had some injuries since. Yes, the fact that it was remembered by so many people that long after it happened was just a testament to how good the storyline was, the match was, and both of you guys were putting that together. Um, you know,
I think I think that's honestly more than, as cheesy as this is going to sound, I think that was the clarification me and Jawan needed, not only as a storyline, but take the title away,
yeah,
take the storyline away. That match itself cemented me and Jawan Thomas in WCWO legacy,
mhm,
and that's something that I think. I mean, we'll always have that bond forever,
yeah,
and I'm just glad, now if there is a pit fight two, you can't bring pit fight two off without the first one.
exactly.
And I'm really happy on how that match went and how it will be remembered. So
So, so how much of you as a person outside of wrestling how much of you is there in Dalton Davis? How much of Dalton Davis is there in you? Are they pretty much synonymous, or is Dalton Davis a far removal of who Parker Davis is?
so if you would have asked me like years ago, I couldn't have told you because I quote lived the gimmick, brother.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think part of that had to do with just me being so young, getting my start in, like,
Mhm.
I'm in the high school halls and I'm a Billy Badass pro wrestler. You know what I mean? I think I'm top dog. Um, but nowadays, it's a lot more of Dalton's amped up. Dalton's more aggressive. Dalton is, Dalton's that type of guy that's going to swing on you regardless. He's going to make the best of whatever is possible.
Dalton likes to
Uh,
fight.
Dalton likes to fight, and
Yeah.
Dalton's been referred to as a crackhead sometimes because he's on energy. But uh, Parker's more mellowed,
Yeah.
uh, laid back. You know, just chilling. Most as
Mhm.
as the kids would say these days, vibing it out.
I'm still not sure what that word means, but yeah,
We're gonna take it. We're gonna run with it.
34. I don't know these terms, so
But I think Dalton's more of
yeah.
that that fighter instinct of me that don't take shit from no one, because I mean we all have lives, we all have someone we got to report to, we all have certain aggressions that piss us off in that 9 to 5. And Parker takes that, laid back, takes that day by day, as to where Dalton knows what he wants.
Right.
Dalton doesn't care if you're a good guy or if you're a bad guy. If, for instance, Dalton wants the Gunslinger title, Dalton's going to get it.
Right.
So I would say that's the difference between Dalton and Parker.
So you just started working in the last few months down HC Hybrid down in Terre Haute.
Yes, sir.
Also working at Warrior Pro in Danville, so 2 relatively new promotions. What is it like? Because you've wrestled at promotions that have been around for decades, that have already established, and now you're working at a few that are brand new. What are some of the differences that you've seen when it comes to working at a brand new promotion that's trying to get itself off the ground, and what have your experiences been like at both so far?
My experiences at both have been amazing. I used to get wrapped up in the I've got to be the gimmick, you know what I mean? Like I'd always be hands-on with creative,
right,
I guess is what I was trying to say.
I'm aware.
Yeah. And now it's one of those things that I'm a lot more mellowed. And some would say I may have matured up a little bit. But it's just, I'm glad to be there, and both have taken care of me very well. Me and Levi are doing our things at Warrior Pro right now.
You stole
really
the tag team
enjoying
titles.
that. We didn't steal them. Actually,
then you won the tag team titles that you stole.
Look, Reggie. We came into the match with tag team titles, and we left with the tag team titles. At the end of the night, that's all they're going to remember. But I've really enjoyed it at Warrior, and I've got nothing but good things to say about Hybrid. The fact I can wrestle at home again.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really good because, growing up, I played football and stuff too, just as kind of a stickler to the doctors. And I always admired guys like Marshawn Lynch, not for what, he did on the field, because, I mean, let's face it, Beast Mode is badass. But what he did off the field, what he did for Oakland. And, as some people wonder why, but I'm proud of Terre Haute. I'm proud to be a Terre Hautian. And
I haven't heard that term in decades, dude.
But the fact that I get to, perform at home is a really good thing. And Hybrid's doing an amazing thing. Last show they had Warhorse versus Dale Pat. Yeah, Warhorse. I would scream right now, but there's people asleep. But Warhorse was there, and him and Dale Patrick's put on a good match.
Nice.
Their first show there, I wrestled a guy by the name of Cameron Sadrin.
I think I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of Shooters Don't Die. And, I mean, that match was probably one of my best ones that I've had in recent memory.
Nice.
And, everything at Hybrid, like I said, I got nothing but good things to say. They got an amazing venue. They're very professional. As a matter of fact, last show they said, the announcer guy said there will be no discrimination. There will be no, homophobia. And if there's any hate slander, you're going to be asked to leave. And I thought, that was a really good thing, especially in today's world where, that certain things are really big, and rightfully so.
Especially in Indiana. I mean, it's rampant.
Yeah. And that kind of just struck out to me, and I was like, okay, like, this is a company who, not only has their shit together, but they genuinely care.
Yeah.
And likewise, I feel it at Warrior Pro.
Mhm.
Like I said, nothing but good things to say about both.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously, let's go back to where I met you, where we know each other from, obviously WCWO. Been a hell of a ride there for the two of us over the last year and a half, 2 years. What does that place mean to you? Because you have a lot of history there as a tag team wrestler and a singles wrestler, and yeah, just your how important it has been to be a part of WCWO as well.
Um, it very much. Like, I hold that very close to my heart. The dub will always. I will always give the dub credit. You know, I feel like I've learned. I learned how to be a wrestler at New Wave Pro, but I really found who Dalton is at WCWO. And
Okay.
some might not get the difference,
Right.
but when I was at New Wave, I was, like I said, still young. I wanted to be the wrestler. I wanted to do the cool stuff that I seen on the highlight tapes on PWG.
Right.
And the dub taught me, okay, there's a long story picture of things. There is a storyline we need to do. There's a bigger picture. There's a why and if about everything. And I really do credit the dub a lot for not only letting me find who Dalton is as a performer and as a wrestler, but also finding who the Knockout Society is. Because I will say the dub was the birthplace of the Knockout Society.
Hmm.
And, eventually when this is all said and done, the dub will be the resting place of the Knockout Society. So
So we have to see Jason Levi more then, because
say that one more time, cut
we
out.
got to see more. We got to see Jason Levi more then.
Yeah, occasionally. Not too much though, because he gets on my nerves sometimes.
And Dalton, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for doing this tonight. I've
Hey,
had a
no problem.
blast. We've been trying to
Thank you
do
for
this for
having me,
a
bro.
yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while, man. I'm glad we were able to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it. Um,
Same.
I'm happy to say, and I mean, I'm more than proud to say that you are one of the few people that you can really call a friend that will genuinely be there for you in professional wrestling. Not a lot of people really do that, but you are
I
an
appreciate
absolutely
that.
you are a great person, a good wrestler, great wrestler, and I'm proud to call you my friend. And thank you so much. And
Likewise, sir.
absolutely, if anything, I'll see you at the next Warrior show
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you don't
And
hey don't kill Ruthless Domination at this one, okay?
hey, make no promises, but for the dub cats that listen to this, TikTok,
That can't be good.
TikTok.
That can't be good.
We'll find out.
I love it, man. I will see you around. Thank you so much, and have a good night, man.
Thank you. You too.